Take a girl and a guy, and they fall madly in love and form a family. Sprinkle in some counseling degrees and a doctorate, a dream of transforming relationships as we know it. And 20 years later, we give you power couple Dr. Ray and Jean Kadkodian. And this is their podcast, Couples Synergy.
Welcome back to another episode of Couple Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Jean. And this is our podcast about love, marriage, and relationships.
Please check us out online on our Facebook page and Instagram at Couple Synergy, or check out our website, couplesynergy.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast or send us any suggestions on topics you'd like to hear more about. And now on to Couple Synergy, an in-depth look at love, marriage, and relationships, where we bring you our experience helping thousands of couples transform their relationships for nearly 20 years.
You know, everyone says you should work on your relationship, but nobody teaches us how. So we've created this podcast to teach people what they can do to create the relationship they've always dreamed of with the partner they fell in love with.
In today's episode, Jean and I will be talking about what you can do right now to improve your relationship while in quarantine.
Because we all are, right? The whole world. It's pretty crazy.
And, you know, this is a pretty important topic because when we are meeting with clients, we're still meeting with clients virtually now.
Yep.
And when we are meeting with them, they are talking about the stress that they are under. Financial stress, career stress, stress having the kids home, you know, stress about, their loved ones that they can't be in contact with, right?
Yep.
Health stress. I mean, there's so much going on that, you know, people are worried about.
You know, it is really great to do this kind of work, and you follow people's journeys through multiple phases of their life. And we're right there in their homes with them, you know, virtually. And it's really interesting to watch the couples who are, there's some couples we're working with that are going through a divorce, that are in quarantine together. And then there's other people that are really working hard on their relationship, and they're doing so much better than, you know, they keep saying, geez, if I would have done this, if this quarantine would have happened a year ago before I started working on my relationship, they're like, I can't even imagine how miserable we'd be right now.
Yeah, because this is very different of a time and different circumstances than anybody has ever experienced, it puts a lot of stress on a relationship. And couples are going to have more conflict now. They're going to have more strain.
You know, it's that concept of what do you get when you squeeze an orange?
You get orange juice.
Why do you get orange juice?
Because that's what's inside of an orange.
Do you ever get pineapple juice?
No.
What if your mom squeezes the orange?
Doesn't matter.
What about your boss?
Doesn't matter either.
Or your kids?
No.
And that's what's happening, right? We're under pressure. And so we're getting squeezed. And when we get squeezed, what comes out is actually what's inside. And, you know, if you think about being in some kind of pain, if you're in pain, if you have sunburn or an ache or something in your body and you don't touch it, you can kind of ignore it and forget about it until someone comes and slaps you on the back, or you bump into a wall or something, you start using that, and then you feel the pain. And that's what's happening, is all that dormant pain that people have, because that's what life is, right? Life is a series of events that we have to process, and we have to take those painful events and let them help us grow through that and evolve. And a relationship is the same way. And so the person that you are married to isn't necessarily the person you married.
The person that you're married to is definitely not the person you married.
Right.
Because we change and we evolve. And as we go through stressors, we go through challenging times, difficult times in our life, we adapt to them. Mm-hmm. We learn how to deal with them. And then we evolve from that.
Right. So keep that in mind. And that brings us back to the topic of what can you do right now to feel better while you're in quarantine?
Well, one of the things that is absolutely different for everybody is our routine has been disrupted. You know, what you were used to before, you cannot do anymore. And so it is important to change your routine. I think some of the struggles we see are couples who are trying to maintain the same kind of structure, same kind of routine in their family under quarantine, and it just is not working.
Right. You can't just go in a room and work for 8 hours because you used to have daycare or your kids would go to school.
Right.
And now you have to be present and you have to divide your day up a little bit more. So it's really important to look at the needs you have as a human being, the physical needs, to build in some exercise, some outside time, some movement, and hopefully a healthy diet.
Right.
And then some time to, learn something new or expose yourself to different concepts, right? And read a book and play a game and do things that are going to stimulate your mind. And then time for reflection and quietness through meditation or through solitude, and so you can build a structure around those things that you're practicing regularly. And it's probably a good idea to not do the exact same thing on the weekend, just like before, so have your Monday through Friday scheduled out and then do something different on the weekends.
This is especially important for kids because kids, they react to change, in pretty negative ways. All of us do as human beings. We react to change with resistance. And, kids are especially susceptible to this. And so they're going to feel kind of out of sorts. They might be acting out more. They might feel sad or worried or depressed. This is changing up that routine, changing up that schedule is going to be really important for them. Get them out of the house. Go for a hike. Have a picnic in your backyard. Set up a tent, do a camp out in your backyard for the weekend. Whatever it is that is going to change up their perspective, then that's what you need to do.
And keep in mind, we're really susceptible to things that we learn and hear, and kids are even more susceptible. And so if you're watching the news, they're hearing that. And then if you have anxiety about life and the future, they're feeling that. And so if you change your attitude, you're going to help your kids feel more certain and better as well, that everything's going to be okay, that we're going to make it through this, and, keep that positive energy going. And you'll find that there'll be times in the day when your kids are going to say, hey, and they're going to really want something and they're going to really be bothering you. And your tendency is going to be to say, give me 10 more minutes. I'll be right there. Just a second. And really, you should listen to your kids because they're probably responding to your overwhelmment. And so if you stop what you're doing and you go focus on your kids, play with them for a few minutes, cuddle, just like 10 minutes and fill them up, you're going to do better stress-wise as well. And you're going to reassure them that life's okay. So we have this new cadence because someone else was probably doing that for you while you were at work.
Yeah, one of our staff members, her daughter is having a really hard time because she is supposed to graduate this year. And she is feeling this loss, like this grief that she's going through. Right.
No graduation ceremony.
Right.
No celebration.
Definitely be aware of that. There is some grief that, many of us are going to be feeling and going through, this loss of celebrations, this loss of completion, of degrees, completion of projects, whatever it was that was supposed to end this year, it's kind of put on hold. And there is this natural grief that people are going to experience.
There's a reason we have those kind of rituals, those rituals of celebrating endings and celebrating beginnings, because it marks an important thing for us as humans, that we can mark those non-tangible things. And so, if you're in grief or someone in your home is, this might sound a little crazy, and don't think it's because of cabin fever or anything like that, but have like 5 minutes where you just scream. Like everyone in the house, just let it out. And it sounds like a crazy thing to do, but it's really cathartic because all that energy that's coming in of the sadness and the loss and the uncertainty, you got to let it out somewhere. And instead of eating it away or doing other things that are not so healthy, emote, let it out.
Yeah, don't just sit in front of a TV and try to pass your time being online, social media, TV, and all of the distractions that you were used to. They're not going to work in the same way that they did before. We have a lot more time on our hands. We have this worry in the back of our heads that's just sitting there. And so you have to change up the routine. You have to do something completely different than you're used to.
You know, the problem with our screens is they hit a part of our brain, the Dopamine Center, which is our reward pleasure response, right? But when we stop doing that, it makes us actually really depressed. And that's why when you distract yourself enough and you have worry, you're actually going to feel more anxious than better. It is so much better to, we take an electronic free day once a week, and you go through some withdrawals. It's an interesting thing. You're so used to reaching for your phone. And when you have that, then you feel so much calmer and de-stressed than, that constant barragement of new information coming in all the time. It gives you some time to process that. And, we also recommend that you have some hygiene around that during the week, certain points where you're done and you turn it all off and, maybe read a book or talk to your partner. What a crazy thought.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Yeah, it's especially difficult now because a lot of people are working from home and they're using technology to do that.
Right.
So you're in front of a screen all day. I know like we are definitely doing a lot of virtual sessions. So we're in front of a screen all day and it gets very tiring. It does zap you of your strength, right? You just feel really fatigued after the whole day.
Yeah, it's very different than sitting across from a person.
Right. So, one of the things that we do is we try to go out for a hike every day.
Right.
Even if it's a mile, but, we get out, get some sunshine, fresh air, and really change up our perspective.
Yeah, I think last week we did a 6-mile hike in the forest in Wisconsin, which was lovely. And that makes you feel so much better. It fatigues your body, but it also processes all that information and emotion and lets it out. And it's, the same reason why you sleep really good, like when you do a lot of yard work or work out really hard. Those are really important things for us to manage our energy.
Another thing that's really important to do right now is to create. The antithesis of boredom is creativity.
Right.
And so whatever creativity looks like for you, definitely do that. Like pick up some art supplies and maybe do some baking. Whatever creativity looks like, it helps you shift your mindset.
Put on some music and have a dance party.
Yeah.
And anything. And, if you're in the house with more than just your partner, your kids can be creative as well and let them come up with some ideas of what we're going to do, Doing something new is really important for us as human beings because the neurons in our brain that fire together wire together. And if we do the same thing over and over again, we get stuck in a rut. And then we have a feeling in our body, which makes us have thoughts. And those thoughts produce, the hormones that make our body feel bad. And then we get stuck in this loop. So when you change it up, no matter what you do, whether you like it or not, doesn't matter. It matters that you do something different because that starts a new process and a new kind of programming.
Yeah, we've talked about new experiences and how important they are for couples in past podcasts. It is especially more important now that you do something that you guys have never tried before and experience something you've never experienced before. Pick up a book, read together, meditate together, do yoga together.
One of the exercises we like to give people is that everyone, and you can do this with your whole family, writes down 5 questions. And you put all those questions in a bowl. And then you go around and you pick a question and you answer it. It might be a question you asked or someone else. And it's kind of a fun way to get to know people on a different level because we've all changed, we're evolving. And a lot of times we just don't say out loud all these thoughts in our heads. And to do that kind of keeps you really present and in the moment and connecting.
I think we should talk about affection and sexuality and how that is impacted by this quarantine, and how you can also pay more attention to those areas in your relationship.
The ritual of the 4 most important times a day, right? When you first wake up in the morning,
when someone leaves for the day, and then when you come back and reunite, and then to close out the day, that is a time for affection.
And we're not leaving.
So
we're
right.
missing some of those. It's easy to walk by each other and not be affectionate because you're not coming and going, but, get conscious about it, because affection lowers our anxiety and lowers our depression. Any form of touch does that. Sit closer, hold hands. Even if you're going to the other room to work, kiss your partner goodbye and kiss them hello on the way back in. Those are important things that just give you an emotional boost, and obviously your kids as well, and your pets. When we're stressed, sex can be a way to release some of that stress. It can be a way to bond. It can be a way to, release all those endorphins in your brain and the oxytocin that makes you feel safer and more secure in the world. And so, unfortunately, when we're stressed, we also tend to not have the energy to put into having sex, right?
Well, the energy to put into true bonding.
Right.
If the intention behind sex is just to relieve stress, then it can be kind of surfacey.
Right. And keep in mind, after you have sex, your brain is filled with serotonin and oxytocin, and it wants to bond. And try to spend at least 15 minutes just holding your partner after that, because that's who you're bonding with. If you're going to pick up your phone or you're going to go be with your kids, that's who you're bonding with. And so make sure that you have some built-in time that you are really connecting after you have sex. That is a wonderful way to help the relationship feel closer and more connected and just safer and better in these uncertain times. One of the things I hear particularly women complain about, but I'm sure it's also true for some men, is that they're so tired of being touched by their kids that at the end of the day, they don't want to be touched, that their kids are climbing all over them or want something from them. And, this kind of touch is not about giving. It's not about taking care of the other person. It's about a mutual exchange and a receiving, like breathing, where you can't rely on your kids for that, or you shouldn't. It's not appropriate. But, talk to your partner about this. If you really are depleted, have them take their hand, the palm of their hand, and push it on the center of your chest. The center of your chest, like, where's your sternum? Is it above your sternum, right? Mm-hmm. Right above your sternum. And hold it there for like 5 minutes and put some pressure on it. This is the part of our body that is where we have our biological clock, and it's where we really enter our body energetically. And so when you have someone put their hand there and breathe with you, it really regulates so much of your biorhythms. I don't know if you're aware of this, but your partner regulates your biorhythms, your blood pressure, your heart rate, all of those kind of things. And so when they're off, you're off, and when you're off, they're off. And to get back and sync together, and you can do it at the same time where you both put your hand on each other's chest and just breathe together. Just 5 minutes, you are going to feel so much better. It's a really an amazing, simple thing to do.
So sex and affection should be a recharging of each other, right? Being able to help each other feel like at 100% again.
And it's really important to have conscious, non-sexual
touch.
Yep.
Right.
Where, I hear people say this, like when they go get a massage, they really relax because their partner isn't, or the massage therapist isn't doing anything that, requires them to have sex. And so if your partner's touching you and you have that thought like, oh my God, I really don't want to right now, and I want them to
want something.
Yeah. And so, have a clear boundary that this is non-sexual touch, right? That it's not going to lead to anything, so you can really let your guard down and soften into it and just feel that close connection without feeling like you have to be on, and it'll make the times when you are going to have sex better also, because you're not so depleted.
I think too often couples get out of balance when it comes to physical touch, where they're not having any physical touch, so that when there is like an attempt, then the intention goes directly to sex.
Right.
And so, it is important to have balance, to have non-sexual physical touch at the same time as, a healthy sexual intimacy.
In the same way that your kids take nap time or they have their breaks from whether they're studying or whatever they're doing, you should take breaks as well. And you can go have a little cuddle time, with your partner, and you can have a quarantine date.
Quarantine date. Yeah.
Get your kids occupied doing something else and take, 30 minutes or an hour for just you and your partner. And, when you talk about your analogy of the phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the battery of the phone, can you talk about that?
Yeah. When you have your cell phone, at the end of the day, you put it on the charger. In the morning, it's at 100%. You think about yourself being like that battery, and you start the day off at 100%. Well, where does the majority of your energy go to? Well, for a lot of people who are working at home, majority of it is going to go to work. And then it's also going to go to your kids. It's also going to go to, bills and maybe your loved ones that you can't be in physical proximity with. So at the end of the day, how much energy do you have left? And do you give any of that energy to yourself? Well, most people don't. Most people are just feeling depleted throughout the entire day. And so it just compiles onto the next day and the next day. So having some alone time is going to be very important. Being able to have a place in your home where you can retreat to, where you can start to actually re-energize yourself.
Or go for a walk or a drive and get out of the house and
Right.
let your partner take over for a little bit. When you were first dating, you spent some time, you went shopping and you bought some new clothes and you took a bath and you got ready, and then you went and had a lovely time, probably over a meal or some activity. And so you're actually infusing this relationship with a lot of energy. And so if it ends up in sex, you have the energy for it because you took all that time to care for yourself. And so did your partner, but you don't have that now. And so the end of the day, sex is probably the worst time you could have sex because you're exhausted.
You don't have any energy to give to your
No.
partner at all, and vice versa.
So it's a better idea, what we like to call morning love. And, you don't have to commute now. So wake up an hour early and use that time when you're more refreshed and recharged to bond and connect with your partner. And then if you have the time, which is great, after you have sex, cuddle up and go back to sleep for a little bit. Before you start your day, you're going to feel so much better if you do that.
I know that we have said this in one podcast before, but we recommend sleep naked. Sleep naked with your partner.
Yep.
It seems a little scandalous, but think about it as that physical. And we're not talking about having sex, right? We're just talking about having that physical proximity,
Skin to skin.
right? That
Contact.
energy exchange, with your partner. It really helps you recharge your batteries.
It's really interesting how we have evolved, really in the last couple of decades, where it seems normal to turn your TV on and see other people naked, but you don't see your partner naked, or you don't want to sleep with your partner?
There was this challenge going on I saw where partners in relationships, they would go stand in front of their partner naked and, video their reaction. And like their reactions are like surprised, that they're surprised to see their partner naked. that just it really surprises me, right? If you were surprised to see your partner naked, then I would say that there's probably a lack of connection that is happening between the two of you.
Absolutely. And even if you don't have the most awesome body in the world, nobody cares. I married you when you were 25 years old.
Yeah, I look much different now.
Totally. And so do I. And who cares? Your body is warm and comforting. It's like home to me. Mm-hmm. And that's because we've nurtured and developed that part of our relationship. And it's, to me, I don't know why you would be in a relationship if you're missing this piece. This is the piece, right? That you don't get to have anywhere else in the world. Or you probably shouldn't have anywhere else.
You shouldn't. We wouldn't suggest it.
And so many people are missing out on it. And, if it brings something up, those are points of healing and evolution in your relationship, which is the point of relationship. We get wounded through relationship and we heal through relationship. And this is what we teach people in Couple Synergy. Like the couples intensive weekend is what do you do with that uncomfortableness? What do you do when something comes up? And, it might be something you've never shared with another person. And it's going to happen when you're vulnerable, which is when you're naked, right?
If you go to our Facebook page, Couples Synergy, and join the Couples Synergy community group, there are a lot of couples on there that are coming up with some great ideas on how to have this quarantine date night. Mm-hmm. And so if you're looking for ideas on, how to be creative, definitely check out their ideas because they're doing a great job.
Yeah. And make sure you're building in some quiet time for yourself, even for the whole house, a time of reflection, a time where you're just not putting anything new in, no new information, nothing, and whether that's going for a walk and not talking through the walk, but just being quiet and being out in nature, or sit in a room, maybe light some candles and just relax. We just don't relax enough. We're so afraid of the relaxing and the thinking, but we need it. It's so important.
Yeah, it's amazing, the people that we're talking to, the couples that we're meeting with, they say that they're more busy now than they were before the quarantine.
Yeah, because there was a village helping raise the family.
Right.
You can't just go take the kids to the in-laws or, hire a babysitter or drop them off at school.
And for many people, there was the commute to work,
Yeah.
where you had this time alone and you were getting into the role and the mode of working. And then on your way home, you have the commute home where you are now, taking off the work hat and putting on the home and family hat. And we don't have that now. Now the commute is going from the upstairs to the kitchen, right? And so for many people, that the blending of these roles are just really hard to discern.
Yeah. So that's why we're recommending that you create some form of structure, that you have that consistency and that reliability every day, and then you add into that variety. You can't just have all variety because it's really ungrounding, and you can't have all structure because that's really boring. So this kind of blend of, keeping regular timetables of waking and sleeping and exercising and learning and relaxing, and then sprinkling in trying new things and paying extra attention to intimacy. One thing that you can do, which I've just thought about this, and it was something we did a lot more as kids, but I don't think people do this anymore, but we would brush each other's hair.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing. Our head is got a lot of sensitivity, and it's so comforting and nurturing to have someone touch your head. And that might be something you can trade off with your partner of, brush each other's head. All these things kind of sound silly, but they're really wonderful. And this used to be something people did before we just watched TV at night.
Well, the head massage feels great. Foot massage as well.
Yeah.
Right?
That's lovely as well. And those are some great, very defined non-sexual forms of affection.
So here are some ideas, for you guys, some suggestions on how to, improve your relationship while under this stress and under this quarantine. If you guys have any other ideas and any other things that work for the two of you,
share them. Couple Synergy
share them in the
community.
Couple Synergy community. Share them on the Couple Synergy page. Send us an email, contact@couplesynergy.com.
Yeah, and we'd really like to challenge you to go create something, whatever that thing is. It might be a wonderful meal. It might be a song. It might be some artwork. Go create something and post that. We'd love to see your creations.
That would be awesome. We'd love to see that.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for joining us today and for listening to Couple Synergy. Our passion is in helping couples and people have happy and healthy relationships. And this podcast gives us a fun way of bringing our knowledge and expertise to you, our listeners.
And we hope that by listening to this episode, it was not only beneficial for your life, but also your relationship.
For all of you listening, please subscribe to our podcast and please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions, please email us at contact@couplesynergy.com. For more information about Couple Synergy and our programs such as Relationship 101, the Couples Weekend Intensive, which is still scheduled for October 15th, 16th, and 17th,
And
18th, and our premier program called Couple to Couple, look us up online at couplesynergy.com.
And if you know someone who can benefit from this episode, please download it and share it. And thank you for listening.
Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, synergize your life, and synergize your love.
You have been listening to Couple Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean Ketkodian. Couple Synergy was recorded, edited, and produced by Dr. Ray and Jean Ketkodian. Voiceover and music entitled Breathe and Let Go was recorded and composed by Gina Gonzalez.